Yo, Dre, I got something to say. Want to do a little video here of the year 2020 and the lots has gone on, but I'm going to focus on the racial tensions and the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement and police killings, especially those of black people, which are predominantly who are involved in police killings. I certainly can't name them all. I'm going to name some notable ones, some ones that a lot of people have talked about. I started counting people killed by police in January, and I stopped on January 2nd when I was at 11. So, I mean, this is something that goes on. In the first 8 months of the year 2020, 164 black people were killed by police. When George Floyd was killed on May 25th, since then, over 96 black people have been killed. And that number was given to me 3 days ago. I'm sure we've gone over 100 by then. One black man or woman at least one has been killed every week in America in the year 2020. This is nothing new. Let's talk about it. In February 23rd, this is police related due to the reactions, but Ahmad Arbery, a young black man, I believe Ahmad was 23 or 25, was out jogging. He was jogging through a South Georgia neighborhood close to Savannah, and he was in a white neighborhood. Well, two white men jumped in their pickup trucks, grabbed their guns, and hunted Ahmad down like a feral hog. A third man decided to get involved. He actually hit Ahmad with his car as they were cornering him, and Ahmad was forced to fight for his life against a man with a gun. We'll get back to Ahmad. No charges were filed for the killing of Ahmad at that point. In March 13th, the DTF cops did a no-knock warrant on the home of Breonna Taylor. Breonna Taylor got 6 bullets in her that she later died of. All the cops were white. They were plainclothes officers. The cop that was actually, whose bullets killed her was Miles Cosgrove. He was never charged. We'll get back to Breonna too. In May, some things to get back to Ahmad Arbery. On May 5th, well, generally the beginning of May, end of April, there became more of an outrage from America. You know, the pandemic was going on, and people started to pay attention to what's going on around them. And America, or more importantly, white America, started becoming outraged. And by May 5th, a video was released by the third person behind the pickup truck of the murder of Ahmad Arbery. And on, I believe it was May 7th, May 8th, May 7th, that's right, it was my sister's birthday. And Travis and Gregory McMichael were arrested for the murder of Ahmad Arbery. 74 days later, almost a lynching there, 74 days later, on May 25th, Derek Chauvin, a Minneapolis police officer, kneeled down on the neck of George Floyd for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. George gasped, "I can't breathe." Some of his last words were, "Mommy." This seemed to, instead of people hitting the streets in various cities where it was happening daily, the nation became unrest, and by June, uh, early June, over 200 U.S. cities had curfews. National guards were called out. Here in Fayetteville, Arkansas, there was a protest. There was a protest in Bentonville, Arkansas the night before on June 1st. That's June 1st and June 2nd. As far as George Floyd, Derek Chauvin was eventually charged. He was charged with second-degree unintentional murder and second-degree manslaughter. There were some charges for other officers who, for aiding and abetting there. It's caught on videotape. Most of the things that we're going to talk about are on videotape, but that's how we know about them. In June of the 23rd of June, Louisiana Police Department fired Brett Heinrichson, who was involved in the Breonna Taylor shooting, which, remember, that was way back in March. No charges had been filed, and they still hadn't at this point, but they fired him for blatantly firing through the windows and doors many rounds. Worldwide movement was in full force in June and through July. In August 23rd, Jacob Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin, was shot, not killed, survived it, but shot 7 times in the back, getting into his car. But 2 days before that, on August 21st, down in Lafayette, Louisiana, Treyford Pellerin, Pelliren, was videotaped. A man with obvious mental issues going on, having a mental episode, was walking with a knife. He was calmly walking away from police, and police fired 10 rounds in his back, killing him, notably. And September, on the 23rd of September, the indictment of Brett Heinrichson was the cop who had been fired by the Louisville police, was indicted for wanton endangerment. I didn't know what that was until then, but I guess it's when you fire your weapon all over the place and are putting those around you in endangerment, are in danger. No one was charged with shooting and killing Breonna Taylor, because remember, I told you earlier that Miles Cosgrave was the officer that did that. The announcement on the 23rd is pretty significant in the sense that Tamika Mallory, an outstanding activist, said it greatly that day. The 23rd is the same day. One, it was 6 months after Breonna had been murdered, but it was the same day that Emmett Till's killers were not convicted of murder. Tamika Mallory had said that she didn't know if he was just that stupid or whether he waited 6 months knowing that, because she said, notably, she said, and I'm gonna read this. She said, responding to Daniel Cameron saying, "I am a black man," she said, "You are just the same as the black men that sell out Negroes that sold our people into slavery. That is you, Daniel Cameron. You are a coward. You are a sellout. You are used by the man. You're used by the man and the system to harm your own mama, your own black mama. We have no respect for you, no respect for your black skin, because all of our skin folk aren't our kinfolk. Found it pretty profound there. Moving right along, on November 3rd, the body of 15-year-old Quawan Charles was found down in Baldwin, Louisiana. And cops responded to his parents bringing up the missing persons report as saying he's probably at a football game or something. No Amber Alert, no investigation. The initial response to his body being found was that it was an accidental drowning. Lots of problems with that. His face had been horribly disfigured. His body all out of whack. It was a pretty brutal and gruesome killing, obviously. Autopsy then did rule it a homicide. To this day, day after Christmas 2020, there's lots of unanswered questions, and especially by the people that he was last seen with haven't been questioned. In December, at the beginning of December, Casey Goodson, a young black man, was walking into his house with a bag of Subway sandwiches in his hand. He was caught, shot, and killed numerous times in the back by a plainclothes officer. Lots of bad things about each one of these cases, but been no answers or certainly any justice for Casey Goodson there. They had his funeral on December 21st. It was the one day they took a break from marching in the streets to protest police brutality and police killings. Well, later on that night, another unarmed black man, Andre Hill, was killed walking towards police with a cell phone in his hand. And not sure where we're at with that. I believe Adam Coy, the policeman that killed him, was on paid leave. Last I'd heard, I believe the mayor and police chief were calling for his firing. Videotape was turned on after the last shots were fired, which does record the first 60 seconds, which shows us how awful it was. The recording picks up once again once he pressed the record, and like many times over and over, showing whether life matters or not. There was no life-rendering aid, first aid, apologies, any comfort at all provided for this man as he took his last breath and later died. I want to say that there's many, many, many more. The numbers are not unbelievable at this point, because before we close, let's mention some in the past. In 2012, Trayvon Martin was similar to Ahmad Arbery, fighting for his life against a man with a gun, and he was killed. He was buried in the ground with a pocket full of Skittles. This helped spark the Black Lives Matter organization. By 2014, things were in full force. Eric Garner, incidentally, whose last words were "I can't breathe," was killed. In August of 2014, Michael Brown, which is where the hands up, don't shoot Chance that you might be familiar with from Black Lives Matter rallies. He was killed in November of 2014. 12-year-old Tamir Rice was shot and killed at a park playing with a toy gun. 2015, Walter Scott's notable. He was a guy running away from police, unarmed, many, many feet away from police, and they put numerous bullets in his back. 2016, in July, within the same week, Alton Sterling, outside of a convenience store, was selling CDs, unarmed, shot and killed. Philando Castile in Minneapolis, pulled over after telling the officer that he was a licensed gun owner. They asked for his ID. He said, well, I'm going to reach for it. As he was reaching for it, they killed him in front of his girlfriend and baby in the car, put numerous bullets in him. 2017, there was Jordan Edwards, who was at a party, Dallas, 17-year-old. And as shots were fired, his car was driving away. Police car followed him, and police got out of the car with a shotgun, blasted holes through the window, shooting and killing Jordan Edwards. 2018, in March, Stephon Clark was in his grandmother's backyard with a cell phone, shot 7 times by police. Later on in the year 2018, Botham John was sitting in his home, watching movies, playing video games. I don't quite remember. A lady cop had just gotten off work and said she got her apartments mixed up and walked into the wrong apartment. Of course, she saw a black man, so shot and killed him. Interesting enough, the police's comment right after that killing was that he had a gram of marijuana in his kitchen. Just the justifying of police killings is unbelievable. I didn't even mention Terrence Crutcher in 2017, and I could have mentioned 2019. I've already gone on a lot. Seems like had about enough. There's lots of we're at a crossroads that especially this movement have white people involved in the movement, and it seems like the question's going to come down to white people, because I mentioned that the white outrage happened, and that's when things happen. White people need to decide if the police protecting their interest is worth the injustices that are caused towards minorities, and policing as a whole is a problem. It's just the numbers on all problems are blaringly multiplied when it comes to persons of color. If you like this long video, I'm talking about police killing, so it's going to have to be long. Please subscribe to my my channel, and my heart's to all the loved ones and families of all those killed by police or in gun violence. Yo, Dre, got something to say.